got lots of beefs. Beefs!
It's like Sam the Butcher bringing Alice the meat.
Yes, sir.
Like Fred Flintstone driving around with bald feet.
But this will be interesting because I've never done a threesome before.
On the next episode of Oh God, It Hurts!
I'm like a parrot, dude.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Oh God, It Hurts!
Oh God, it hurts! Oh God!
It hurts!
This is our Hoppy New Year episode. And by Hoppy, I mean we've got a guest for the first time. So with me, as always, is my co-host, Game Agent ET. Say hello, Eddie.
Hey, everybody. Happy New Year.
Woo!
Happy holidays.
And Hoppy New Year as our first guest in the house, fresh from retro futurist culture, Mr. Optimus himself. Say hello, Mikey.
What's up, guys? I'm super excited to be the first guest. I love this show. It's so much fun, and I can't wait to dive in with you guys. This is one of my favorite podcasts on Ruminations Radio Network. I'm super excited to be here.
Oh man, it's great to have you on. And I mean, this little gathering pretty much represents like a quorum of our old Friday Night Fight crew. So
yeah, those were good times.
Indeed.
Always playing at either your house, James, or Optimus's house, and always trash talking and
trashing and scrapping. Giving it.
By the way, Optimus, I did listen to old Six Button Samurai podcasts, and I heard a little bit about your Darkstalkers type of comment with
heard that shit.
Lord Raptor and a certain
I like to dunk on you, Eddie. I like to dunk on you.
I was hoping to retort on that, you know.
Man, there was dunking on even before dunking on was a thing in the modern
I think it's a little bit exaggerated, you know, but I would like to get my redemption someday, maybe.
Well, I did inherit a box of like 360s that Dave gave me, and he says 2 of them work, so I'm gonna hook them up, and I have an arcade stick, and I'm gonna install my Darkstalkers collection.
Yeah.
So whenever you're in America again, we will dunk it out.
Yes, and we will have to record it. 1st to 10.
Yeah.
1st to 10. Battle for cattle.
I think that would be a delightful video stream and when we're capable of doing such things, which, you know, we might be by that time.
Yeah. And we'll post the link on the Twitter accounts of Oh God, It Hurts and the
Retro
Adult
Futurist
Gamer
Culture.
For dominance. For the title of dominance. But yeah.
So with that, let's slide over to the water cooler here. So a big topic as of late has been the Analog Pocket, which is the first FPGA-based portable. And, you know, supply chain issues being what they are, they're still ridiculously hard to get, even though Analog reopened pre-orders a few weeks back. Eddie, you are, of course, the portables giant among us in particular. What are your thoughts about it, and what are your thoughts about some of the issues that it seems to be having?
Well, I definitely am interested in it because of the possibilities of playing certain titles I've never even tried before, like, for example, the Lynx system.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, it was a little expensive to get, and also the titles were far and few between, but it always had interesting takes on certain arcade titles that were were really popular back then. Like I think they had Paperboy and also a a few original ones like Blue Lightning. Blue Lightning actually is it's kind of like an afterburner type of game, and it looked
Yeah.
interesting. I really
I
wanted to
mean,
try it, but
that one's really visually spectacular.
yeah,
It gets a little boring after a while, though. It doesn't have
well,
that same delightful Sega zip to it.
I
But the one
understand.
game that I had on the Lynx that I really loved was the port of Road Blasters.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
that
dope.
I wanted to try that too, and Zybots, and I think they have a version of Rygar on the
They
links.
do. It's
And
more patterned after the arcade though than the NES one, but
well, I
it's
like
still
both.
pretty. Yeah, it looks good on that screen.
Yeah, and I never had a
Yeah,
chance to get this portable, or so this would be a golden opportunity to try that as well as play it on the screen that actually is quite clear, quite bright,
yeah.
and it doesn't have washout. I think,
You-
back in the day, you always had to worry about washout or blur because
mhm.
I guess it is it refresh rate? I don't know, but it would make it
Yeah,
feel like
the LCD panel technology at the time, very, very slow.
yeah.
Very,
Yes.
very slow response time.
So I
I mean,
was
that's one of the
interested.
funny things now is with the analog pocket, like it's actually got modes that will mirror that slowness and like blur.
Yeah, I watched the video on how, like, if you're playing old Game Boy games, there's modes because the Game Boy with the pixel blur could have sort of a pseudo transparency effect,
Mhm.
Hmm,
and you can turn that on the analog pocket so that you get that look. Because if you don't turn it on and it's rendering like full quality, you don't get you don't get the sort of pseudo transparency effect. Everything looks weird.
yeah, but I guess, that's cool to have if you're a masochist? I don't know how to pronounce masochist. I'm sorry for my lips, but you're a masochist. But anyways, yeah. I'm glad they left all that in because I think it's
It's
good
cool that they
for
thought of all those things because there probably was a lot of testing. They were like, whoa, this looks weird.
yeah.
How do we make it look like the right way? Oh yeah, because it blurred so much. That's how it got the weird transparency effect.
But it does have some drawbacks right now, especially with the adapters, most namely the Game Gear adapter that you have to buy
I heard
separately.
it's like shredding the cartridge
Label.
sticker label.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
saw that. I was like, that's a bummer.
and someone posted saying that on the first try, when they put it in, it damaged the label,
Oh,
and
jingo.
that's not something that is easily replaced. So, and if
Yeah, that's
you're
a big drag, especially considering how much extra time they had
yeah,
to to release the unit. You'd think that they would spend a little more time on those adapters, given like especially Game Gear games have just become like ridiculously collectible.
That's
yeah,
nuts, dude. When we used to work at at the used game shop, fucking couldn't even get rid of Game Gears. You remember? We'd have piles of them.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
The
but
collector's market's insane now. I can't believe how crazy retro game collecting is now. Like I seriously look and go, what the hell just happened?
I know.
yeah,
I
but
mean, I think any one of us would be sitting on like a new car's worth of shit if we had like our 2001 collection.
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah, if I still had Ninja 50.
Dude,
You
I
still
had
had
so I listened to that episode,
Ninja.
Eddie, and I had that card mint in a box like back in the day. A bunch of the
Me
really,
too.
really rare GBA cards I had.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or like I loved the Game Boy Advance. I was a huge Game Boy Advance fanboy. I
yeah,
mean,
me too.
I bought your Afterburner one from you.
Yeah, you did?
Um,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, you mean the modded one with the backlight
Yeah,
or
I
front
bought
light, I
your
guess?
modded one. Yeah, I
Wow,
bought your
wow, I didn't know
Afterburner
that.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I bought it
so
off you.
that's cool, man. I'm glad it, went to
I don't
a
longer have it, but
I know,
I had
but
it till I got my Game Boy SP, I think, and then
yeah, but
Well, and those mods have also come such a long way.
Oh, for sure.
Like the little IPS screens you can get in those now are pretty ridiculously sweet.
Yeah, I'm looking to get one for my Neo Geo Pocket Color.
Hmm.
Definitely, I have 2 systems right now, 2 or 3, I don't remember, but I love the Neo Geo Pocket Color, and
Me too, dude.
even though you can play it on the Analog Pocket, I'm glad I still have my original hardware
I
because
have one still, and I have only one cart, and that's SNK versus Capcom Match the Millennium. It's
oh,
in a
I
box somewhere
that
around
that's
here.
that's yeah,
That's gold.
required equipment, definitely.
Hmm.
That game is the best, but you can't beat that clicky stick, though.
Oh,
That
no, for
that cannot
sure.
be
I
replicated on the
love dude,
Pocket, Analog
and there
Pocket.
was some fun games on there. The
Yeah,
Metal Slug games on there, I loved them. They were different than the home Neo Geo ones,
yeah,
but they were still fun. There was a couple
Hmm.
other really cool games on that machine. It was a great little machine. I loved it, and the screen, it wasn't backlit, but it reflected light really well. I never really had
yeah,
problems seeing it.
It was
yeah,
way better than the Game Boy Color at the time.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Significantly
Yeah,
better.
the
whatever they had behind that or on the screen really picked up light really well
Hmm.
compared to the Game Boy Color.
and the fighting games were phenomenal.
Oh, right,
Just
yeah.
yeah, not only SNK
Sonic was
Match
good
of the
on there
Millennium,
too.
but yeah,
Yep.
and, what other games were
It's funny how there's like a
Biomotor
really
Unitron was
weird.
kinda fun.
Yeah, Biomotor Unicron was cool.
I had that one.
There was,
Really good version of Pac-Man on it too.
yep.
Yeah. You needed that four-way gate, though, which kinda broke easily,
Right.
and it was kinda funky to, put it on in the first place or take it out, but yeah, it was pretty fun. Crush
Nice.
Roller was not as fun. I don't know if you
No,
played that, but
I did, and I think I got rid of it not very long after I got it. I was like, yeah, this isn't great.
it's kinda rare now, so
Of course.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always those games.
Yeah, the ones that are not so good are always the
Uh
ones that
huh.
are always
They're not so good. They don't
up in
sell well at
price.
retail. They dry up, and then next thing you know, they're like $400 on eBay.
Yep. I think Crush
Oh,
Roller is
yeah.
about
I
10,000 yen in
oh my
Japan,
god.
in
I
box.
liked Dark Arms. That was like a pseudo RPG on there. That one
Yeah.
was fun.
Hmm.
Oh, by the way, now you can get those on Switch because of the Neo Geo Pocket Color, Archives Volume 1. I think it has Dark Arms.
What?
Yeah.
And then Falaise,
I don't know about the oth
Fossil.
yeah.
Cotton was good on there.
Oh, I
Yeah.
forgot there was a
Dive
version of
Alert,
Cotton
I
for
liked
that
Dive
thing.
Alert, that was like that submarine RPG, that one was fun.
But, it's kinda off topic, but what I wish Nintendo Switch would do would make if they made, like, a special pair of Joy-Cons that had the clicky sticks,
That
that
would be
would
that
be
would actually be
awesome.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
It's
because
weird too because like that stick, the analog stick on it, like just I know it doesn't feel the same at all, but physically it's similar.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
that could be cool.
It would be because if you think about it, if you outfitted 2 of those, like, you could play two-player anytime you want. You just detach the Joy-Cons, put the, tablet part on the counter, or you could play it at home on the big screen and use those Joy-Cons to play two-player even though the buttons are a little small, at least you get the clicky stick action and yeah.
And this is one of the reasons I love talking to you two gentlemen in particular, is because I know no matter how niche a thing I concoct in my brain, you guys will be up for it.
Yeah, but Analog Pocket, I would love to get one, and, hopefully, I could pre-order one eventually down the line, but just right now, like, the first time they had pre-orders, I remember they sold out within less than 10 minutes, and they had problems with bots kinda buying
Yep.
up all the reserves,
Boo.
and they did better the second time around, but
Hmm.
because of supply issues I don't know if they're still taking pre-orders now, but basically, they were saying there's 3 separate pre-order windows. I mean, I'm sorry, not pre-order windows, but release windows.
Hmm.
You would have one early 2022, the next one would be late 2022, and the last window would be next year. So,
Yeah, I got in on the group that's like late 22, but
Yeah.
I mean, whenever it comes, that'll be awesome. I mean, I'm lucky that I've got a way to play most of those games with the Mister right now.
Yeah.
But no, man,
But
that's
it's always nice to play in its intended habitat, which is in your hands on the screen, and you can
right.
take it anywhere. So it's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go
I totally,
portable joy.
yeah, I would totally get it if I
Um,
could.
one thing that we all definitely love is the Virtua Fighter series,
Yep.
Oh yeah.
and very recently there has been a lot of talk that the what was essentially a marketing experiment with the release of Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown on the PlayStation 4 is apparently leading to something else. Now, we don't know what that something else is, and I know that Optimus in particular is still really hoping for a release of that Ultimate Showdown for the present Xbox Series systems.
Yes.
Um, let's get into some Virtua Fighter, man. Like, God, where do we even begin with this?
The
Uh,
very beginning, or
I remember, well, with Virtual Fighter 5, when I came to Japan, I think that was like year 1 or year 2, I don't remember, of Virtual Fighter 5 being out in the arcades, and it was quite successful. There were even kiosks where you could actually watch replays from around the country and also announcements on future VF5 tournaments and things like that. And it was really cool to not only watch people play the game, but also the kiosk was kind of like its own YouTube channel back
hmm
even before when YouTube was even doing stuff like this. It was pretty awesome, like, and ahead of its time. It would
Yeah,
even show like combos, like combo reels from popular players, and it would
nice.
record it, and you would be able to see how people would do these combos, and it would do it in regular motion, and I believe in slow motion as well to kinda see how they did it and what they did. So, man, I felt like it was the pinnacle, uh, via 5, and, it's kinda like how we, as Street Fighter players, were going through that drought between Street Fighter 3 and Street Fighter 4.
hmm
People who love Virtual Fighter are experiencing that drought right now until recently.
Right,
Final Showdown finally coming out, kind of breathing a little bit new life into the series and getting new players into it and offering
for
it for
sure.
free for a while. So that really helped bring up the interest again. And I hope they will bring out Virtual Fighter 6 because it's a shot in the arm that we badly need, especially with Japanese arcades here. We're
hmm
running out of stuff. I mean,
Right.
nowadays, because of COVID, you're seeing these arcades kinda resorting to having more crane games and print club
Well, they've just got to
stuff.
make money, period, just to remain alive. So you
Yeah,
can't really blame them for doing whatever it takes right now to
and the
stay afloat.
landscape has changed, yeah. Nowadays, I see, the only games that are being played at a decent level at the arcades are probably the Gundam Versus games
Right.
and a few other games like the, rhythm games.
hmm
I forget the game that looks like a washer and dryer, but it's a
There's a few
big,
different Japanese cabs that resemble that.
yeah, but
And
yeah,
recently, Optimus and I had taken to Xbox Live and fired up the existing VF5 Final Showdown
Yeah,
port
the
that was
360
from the
backwards compatible.
360.
It still works really well, and the netcode still pretty solid.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like that game has such ridiculously strong art design, like that's just built upon these years and years and years of iterations of that game. Like that game still holds up unbelievably well, even with that iteration, but upscaled to 4K. It looks beautiful still.
It
You
still
know,
works great. The lobby, it's still, I mean, I'm gonna go on a slight rant about Japanese fighting game design. That game had a perfect lobby system. Like we can still play it. We can get we had a group. We had like 6 people, right?
Hmm.
And we'd all just go match to match. Nobody got disconnected or anything. Everybody just playing. We could watch each other's matches, and it was a good time.
Right.
Recently, trying to get into Tekken 7 and Soul Calibur 6, their lobby systems are trash, and you get disconnected all the time. It's kind of
You were
sad.
telling me that the online code for the Samurai
And
Showdown
Samurai
reboot
Showdown
was
is just
also bad.
atrocious. It's
Right.
lag, so full of lag.
I
Hmm.
Like it's not
yeah.
even playable. It's honestly not playable at all
I,
online. It's bad.
I
It's
heard the
really
new
bad.
Guilty Gear is the same way. A lot of people are
Ooh,
not liking the new
really?
lobby system. They
I
said
would
it's not an
buy
improvement
the
from the
new
last one.
Guilty Gear, but they
If
don't
it
make
was
it
available
available
for
on
you.
Xbox. Yeah.
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 Oh, I
Well,
didn't know it wasn't available on Xbox. That's
Nope.
surprising. What's up
no,
with Sony
that
buying all
one's a
the fighting
Sony
games?
exclusive.
My God. Yeah. But
But I would say the thing that is cause for hope right now, um, the word about the KOF 15 beta thus far has been really positive.
with rollback,
And
right?
apparently,
It has
it does have a
rollback.
rollback code. In addition to that, I think SNK is really looking to have something with a lot more support and much more robust online code because you have this enormous fan base for the King of Fighters throughout Latin America. And
Yeah.
so if you were able to bring more of those players online, I mean, you could have more people playing KOF online than ever before in
Yeah.
2022.
The
So,
dynamic is shifting so quickly because I mean, back in the day, it was mostly arcades. You would play
mhm,
fighting games rarely at home. You would always have to travel to go to tournaments, and now because of COVID, uh,
mhm,
the best way to have a tournament online or to play with friends is online. You can't
mhm,
really meet up nowadays because of
right.
restrictions. So I think if you can capitalize on that, you're going to be king of the mountain for as long as your game is popular. And I think SNK has that golden opportunity to lead the way. And I hope
Mhm.
Sega will take notice and really take it seriously with their net code. Hopefully
Also,
they'll have
Yes,
rollback.
Sega, if you're listening and you want my money, please port that new VF5 Ultimate Showdown to Xbox so I can give you money.
they really need
I'd like to
to.
give you money.
Yeah.
It's not even on PC yet either, is it?
No.
No,
Yeah.
I guess there was. It's doing really well, and they're talking about it for PC.
I would think
Which
it would be
hopefully, if they're going to do to
synonymous.
PC, it would be. I mean, same operating system, right?
Yeah,
Shouldn't.
that's why. I
Right.
thought it'd be synonymous. If you have PC, why not have it on Xbox? Yeah. I mean, same
Yeah.
environment. So,
Hopefully they will listen because obviously, like, you know, I've always got money for VF. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
And it's always nice to
And
have another option because, like I said, things are drying up now.
yeah.
So you
But
want,
apparently the response to VF5 Ultimate Showdown, even just coming out on PlayStation, was so much better than they expected that there will be more coming down the pipe.
yeah.
We obviously just don't know what form that's going to take, but hopefully, they will take having an online presence seriously. And I don't know how you can do that without also having the franchise on Xbox.
But anytime you have a new Virtua Fighter, they always set the pace. They always raise the bar, and I
Yeah,
love that. That's always
yeah,
that's how it's always been. And Tekken was its main competitor, so they always tried to one up each other. But
yeah.
I think the the what's his name, Harada,
Uh huh.
the producer of Tekken nowadays, he was
Yeah.
saying, "Yeah, I miss that rivalry. I hope they come back." So yeah,
Well, that's the thing is that both, the SNK and Capcom dynamic and the Sega and Namco dynamic have not been the same for a very long time. And all of those series thrived when they had like an
Yeah,
active rival going.
when they had that friendly rival
Yeah, competition
competition
brings out the
going.
best in all of
Mhm.
us, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So I hope they
And
keep
frankly,
them.
that's why I want KOF 15 to be fantastic because I want Capcom to go, oh, we got to do better,
Yeah,
and also port SF6 to other consoles, please, for the love of God. You know?
but yeah, I think now that it's under new management, it's gonna be a lot better because the young blood, they're running the show in Capcom nowadays with the Street Fighter series, and for the latter part where after their director Ono left, it started becoming more transparent what they're doing to they talked more with the public about, okay, we're going to do this, we have a roadmap, and we're going to just tell you exactly what we're going to do. There's not going to be any shenanigans or like things that we're going to kind of tease you about. We're just going to tell you exactly what we're going to do, and people like that transparency, and I hope
Mhm.
they will continue to do that because I think, especially for a fighting game community that is as strong as the Street Fighter community, you need that sort of openness saying, like, okay, we want to do everything we can to make this the best game and we're going to do it this way and we're not going to beat around the bush. This is how it's going to be. And we like your input and we definitely value your input. So
Yeah.
I hope that'll, like I said, uh, this sort of environment where everyone is trying to do their best, it's going to bring out so many good games in the future.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just make everything cross-platform already.
Yeah. Stupid Sony and their big bag of money.
Yep.
Yeah.
So last but not least on the water cooler set of topics, John Madden died this week.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's wild because as gamers, I mean, it's kind of difficult to remember a time before Madden was this enormous presence in the world of gaming.
Then skyrocketed the Sega Genesis to the home console of choice.
Yep.
Yeah.
In a
And
big
even
way.
spawned like Mutant League Football.
Oh, I love Mutant League Football. I was going to talk about Mutant League Football. Okay.
Sorry. But
You can both talk about Mutant League Football.
but yeah, Madden was a great series because Madden himself, he wanted the series to, if it was going to bear his likeness, he wanted it to be realistic. He didn't want it to be kind of like a basic, oh, you're just gonna have players run around and do nothing while you just
Yeah,
go back
he
and
was
throw.
also really adamant, like, when Trip Hawkins at EA was coming up with the series, and he was talking about the 8 on 8. It's like a similar,
Seven
different
on
set of
seven.
rules, 7 on
Yeah.
7 football rules, and man's like, "No, it's gotta be 11 on 11."
Yeah,
And when
because
they finally got that to work, he was very excited. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
because, back in the day, the computers that
Yeah,
they
they
wanted
they
to
couldn't
release
render
it,
that many sprites.
or yeah, the hardware couldn't move that many players all at once,
I,
so
I was
it
going to
took
say,
4
I have very
years.
vivid and terrible memories of playing football on the Atari
It's
2600.
just like
Oh,
3 on
And it
3
yeah.
or
was like
4 on
three
4.
dudes.
Hey, guys,
Yeah,
do you
I
remember
remember that.
10 Yard Fight?
I do
Yes,
remember
Oh my
10 yard. I
god.
had 10-yard fight.
it
Oh.
sucked.
Yeah. Do you remember when every time you returned a kick, there was like 9 guys around you in like a square while you're running?
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Madden, I'm glad they were out there because, I mean, I was a Tecmo Super Bowl guy, and
Hmm.
that's a
Yeah,
different
me
type
too.
of style of football with
More
arcade
arcade
style.
style, yeah.
Yeah, and that was fun in its own right, but I'm glad Madden was out because, like I said, the realism was its calling card, and I actually learned quite a bit about football by playing a few
Right?
Madden games, especially actually there was this, iPhone, Madden mobile game that I used to play every once in a while, and not only did it teach you how to play the game in terms of controls, but it taught you the game of football. It taught you how to do certain plays and why a running back would do this in this type of play, or wide receivers, why they run these routes. So it was very educational. It was like a interactive way to learn about football instead of just watching YouTube videos on old football footage. So
Hmm.
it was really, I mean, state of the art, just a way to not only learn about football, but to do it interactively.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I
but
don't know. Like the funny thing to think about with Madden is that
mhm.
like I can actually remember a time when EA was just this really good software developer. Like I had a Commodore 64 growing up, and they had like this thing called the pinball construction set that was really, really fun. And it was just this little kit where you could build your own pinball machine. And it had like really shockingly good physics for the time. And they made like a variety of games. They did like a Port of Marble Madness. They had some original titles for the Commodore 64 as well. And so it's weird to think of a time when like EA was just this awesome,
Yeah, they
plucky,
were a little upstart
small
company. Yeah.
developer. And it was really Madden that kind of transformed them into the behemoth that we know
Right,
today.
because that led to the NHL series and their basketball series, and
I
yeah, it made
remember
them
Jordan
a
versus
sports team.
Bird.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wasn't as good on
Well,
the NES, but on the computer it looked pretty good.
well, on the Commodore 64, when that game first came out, it was Dr. J versus Larry Bird.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So Jordan versus Bird was the sequel then.
Yep.
Wow. I
Yeah.
forgot about the Dr. J game,
Hmm.
but yeah,
I think that was the first EA game I ever laid eyes on,
yeah,
was that Dr. J versus Larry Bird. And just like, it's kind of funny now to think about just how unbelievably one dimensional that is as a game concept.
yeah.
Like,
But
if I'm playing Dr. J, I'm probably going to try and dunk it all the time. If I'm Larry Bird, I think I'm going to shoot from the perimeter all the time.
yeah, but I
But at the
heard,
same time, like, you couldn't render 10 character sprites at the time.
yeah.
So,
But once it started coming out on systems like the Genesis, oh my god,
mhm,
yeah.
yeah.
I remember it was amazing to play that 3-point shootout. Do you remember
Yeah, I
that?
mean, it just, all of EA's stuff was just a huge part of Sega Genesis becoming a viable competitor
Yeah.
to Super NES here in the US.
So they owe them a solid. They owe Madden a solid, definitely. Um,
Yeah.
it's a shame though, because as time went on, Madden, even his likeness was never on the cover anymore, or even in the game. It was more of just a name.
Right.
And hopefully they'll pay a huge tribute to him in the next
You would
iteration
think
of
that would be coming for sure, like in some
yeah.
form. But
I would wager next year, next
yeah.
football season. But yeah, he will be missed. I loved his commentary on TV. I
Oh
because
yeah.
of my love of football, I used to watch football every Sunday and Monday, and he was the best in terms of commentary. He had a lot of terminology that was funny, like the catchphrase "boom" and
Hmm.
turducken.
Boom.
You guys know what a
Yeah.
turducken
Oh,
is,
yeah,
right?
dude, I love turduckens.
Yeah. I never had one myself, but it was always nice to see how they made it. So, part turkey, part duck, part chicken
Hmm.
Mhm.
for
Chicken.
Thanksgiving. Yeah,
Chicken.
chicken. But R&P, my good friend, Mr.
Yep.
Madden, one of a
Yep.
kind. Yep.
So, one thing that we're doing this week, we'd also like to induct somebody into our Oh God tier. Now, the last episode, we talked about Masayuki Uemura, who was the design brains behind the NES and the Super NES. And of course, you don't always want to wait until somebody passes to give them their props. I'm a big believer in heartbeat props. And gentleman we would like to honor today is none other than Sega legend Yu Suzuki. Guys, where do we begin with Yu Suzuki?
Dude, he's kind of like, not quite, but kind of like the Miyamoto of Sega, especially arcade Sega. I mean, his innovative ideas brought Sega so many hit games that went from the arcade to the home that people know, like Hang On, Afterburner, Outrun, Virtua Fighter, Space Harrier. I mean, he had his hand in so many hit Sega arcade games, both and then that were eventually ported home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was definitely, and then eventually that led to him developing Shenmue.
Right. So,
Yeah.
what was your first encounter with a Yu Suzuki game, Mike?
It was either Space Harrier or Super Hang On,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Afterburner would have been one of those three.
Yeah.
Those all kind of came out within a approximation of each other, but I mean, the one that I fell in love with because it was at the Circle K right by my house was the stand up, not the full cool sit down motion controlled, but the stand up Space Harrier machine. Something about that quirky game just got its hooks in me, and
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't stop playing it.
No, I know that's been one of your favorites forever.
Yeah, it's just got a whimsical, like, weird fantasy charm, but high intensity, like,
Mm-hmm.
shooting. It's just, it's batshit crazy in a great way.
Yeah, I always had the Yu Suzuki titles always had that distinctive look and sound, and you
Mm-hmm.
could totally pick that out, like, when you step in an arcade, you're like, "Oh, yeah, that's Outrun," or, "Oh, yeah, that's Afterburner," and you make a beeline to one of those games,
He
and
Mm-hmm.
was he was always good at, like, pushing the technology, like, he was the one that pushed Sega into using those more advanced 16-bit arcade boards.
and
Mm-hmm.
as you mentioned before, just the way they presented the games with the sit down, hang on, the motion that you experience with Space Harrier, the sit down cabinet, and Afterburner as well. You was he one of the first that had those type of games in the arcade? I don't remember. I think Hang On was the first, right?
I think that was his idea too, to have the full sit-on version because he was obsessed with motorcycles,
Yeah,
like,
Right.
obsessed with
he's a
motorcycles.
revolutionary. Yeah.
So, for
Yeah.
those that have never seen one of these in the wild, if you're less than 40 years old, um, the original deluxe hang on cabinet was basically this giant red motorcycle that you would sit on and you would actually lean into the turns physically, to correspond with the on screen movement when you're trying to take a turn. Um, and yeah, it was absolutely like, it was a completely, you know, it caused so much, it drew so much friggin' attention to itself being in the arcade. I mean, I saw one at the golf and stuff here in Tucson, and there was definitely like nothing else like that. I mean, that was really, really bizarre and cool. And that's definitely a thing that his games just have this strange, like, there's an emphasis on speed, there's an emphasis on primary colors. Um,
Really,
there's
like,
just this sort of
intuitive and
sunshiny
smooth
aesthetic.
gameplay, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
don't
mean, he
forget the
was
music
probably the
by
first.
yeah, the music was
By
also
who?
great.
Who was the musical artist, Ed?
Uh, SST Band?
You're right.
Yeah.
I actually got to see them live. They went under the name Blind Spot, and they had well, they're not no longer a band anymore. They disbanded, but they always could bring could always come back. But yeah, they had live performances in Osaka and Tokyo, and I
Hmm.
was lucky to go to 2 or 3 of them, and it's
Right.
amazing to listen to them live. But yeah, I mean SST Band, Sega Sound Team Band. Yeah. The it That's like I said, when you go in the arcade, you can't miss that music. It's definitely
Hmm.
part of the experience, and yeah, Yu Suzuki, he was the guy who orchestrated all this efforts to make such a great experience in the arcade, and yeah, it can't be duplicated. I bet you anything if anyone found one of these sit-down arcade cabinets. Like, I'm lucky I live next to not next to, but 5 minutes away from a retro arcade that has sit-down art Afterburner and Outrun.
Damn.
So I do it once in a while. It's like 300 yen a play, but I don't care. I like
Yeah.
yeah, I just love it you can't do that at home, and it's still a
Yeah.
fun experience.
I also like the fact that he would take something that was an idea and just fully explore it and turn it into a game. Like he got obsessed with motorcycles, then it was Hang On, and then he was in Europe and saw Ferrari, and that became Outrun, right?
Mhm.
And then Top Gun comes out, and he's like, "Oh my god, we got to make an F-14 game because this movie just blew me away." And so they
Mhm.
made
Yeah.
Afterburner, which was, I mean, dude, that game was. I remember when I first saw the Afterburner cabinet. It was the full motion cabinet. Was the first one I ever saw. I was like, "What is this?" And the music, like
Yeah.
you were
Yes.
talking about, Ed, the music was amazing. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so awesome!"
It was
Yeah.
so
Rock
fitting to
your
each
face
game.
off.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then when, like, the next big leap, I mean, he did a couple other things, but when I first saw Virtua Fighter, it wasn't really the graphics, even though it was the first game to be, like, in the arcade with a fully rendered 3D polygon sweep, but they were flat shaded, they weren't super impressive. I had already seen Doom on PCs, and to me, like, that looked better to my eyes because of textures. But it was the fact that Virtua Fighter had real martial arts moves in a fighting
Mhm.
game for the first time, and I was like, "Whoa." I was like, "This is cool." I was really into it, and,
Yeah, that motion capture was so impressive for
yeah,
the time. Like nothing else was doing that.
not at all.
Mhm.
And then you have, Shenmue, which that genre st I still think he's the grandfather of that genre, like GTA,
Like,
Grand Theft
sort
Auto.
of the open world adventure RPG kinda genre.
Yeah. It was
I
so
mean, I don't
much
know. He might have supercharged it, but I think that genre really was kind of around on the PC for a long time. It just didn't look as good
yeah,
as when
but
he got into it.
yeah, and I liked his ideas from the beginning where people would come out at certain times and you wouldn't see them if you were there at like 4 in the afternoon compared to like 8 in the morning. They would be
Yeah.
at different places at different times. And I remember
Right.
our mutual friend Mark showed me uh, this special that they had on Shenmue where they detailed like every some things about Shenmue and they showed one character, like non-playable characters routine every day, saying like, "Oh,
Mhm.
this old lady would be at this shop at this time,
Yeah, the
then be
fact
at
that
the
they would
park." Yeah,
program that in the game is insane.
yeah.
Mhm.
So way ahead of its time. I That's why I like Shenmue, even though it wasn't well received. It wasn't as popular as it should have been. I mean, it wouldn't. The Yakuza series would not be where it was, where it is now without Shenmue.
Right.
I think I
No, Yakuza is definitely like it's the recipient of all that was learned from trying to create those games
Mhm.
initially. Like
yeah.
Yakuza definitely benefited from all of that. Just sort of took it in a slightly saucier direction, but I've
The
I've
the
definitely
roots are
enjoyed
there
those
though.
games thoroughly. Absolutely.
Yeah. But
I
yeah, it's
mean, not
sad
the
that
least of which because you can play all of those Yu Suzuki games in Yakuza. So
yeah. What is he been doing nowadays besides I mean Yu Suzuki obviously is not working at Sega anymore and
right,
he did release Shenmue 3 finally. I didn't
right.
get to play that game yet, but I heard it was okay. I mean, it's hard to make that into a big success when you're, crowdfunding it. So I heard it was okay, but because of the financial restrictions, it wasn't as grand scale as the previous Shenmue games, but yeah, do you know any of you guys
I
know?
don't honestly know what he's up to these days.
Yeah. It's a,
Yeah,
it's
no
a
idea.
shame. It's a shame. I hope that he's working on another project right now, but yeah,
Yeah,
I think
but
if
at
he
any
were to
rate,
stop
he
today,
definitely. Hmm?
I think his legacy is definitely going to
Oh
be
yeah,
yeah, it's always going to be there. He's one of the best, in my opinion.
No, he has definitely left his stamp on the industry.
Yeah.
With that, we are going to take an identification break. You are listening to Oh God It Hurts on the Ruminations Radio Network.
Hey kids, it's Don Shanahan from the Cinephile Hissy Fit, one of the podcasts on the Ruminations Radio Network. If you've been enjoying this show, come listen to Will Johnson and I fight it out over cinema's best and worst on Cinephile Hissy Fit. Find us and all the great shows over on ruminationsradionetwork.com.
And we're back. Whoop.
Hey, Mikey.
Yo.
Can I tell you? Do you remember that time when we were playing Virtua Fighter 2 at our mutual friend Sebastian's house, and you got that joystick that had the dome on it? Do you remember that?
Yes.
I talked about that in a previous episode. Do you remember
Right,
that?
the dim mock.
Yes, you did the dim mock. Can you? How did you do that? Do you remember?
I was mad, dude. What were we were playing? Were we playing Virtua Fighter or were we playing Tekken?
You were playing Virtua Fighter 2.
Okay.
I remember you were playing it. We just got somebody just got that game, and you were trying
maybe
it
it was
out.
Sebastian.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe it was Sebastian. I think I just got the stick.
yeah.
I
You
picked
got
it
the
up
stick that day.
from Best Buy. Yeah.
And then we tried it out, and you were playing it with your stick. And I remember you lost to the computer, and you had this kind of look on your face where you're like looking like you were biting your lip, and you just slammed your palm onto the dome part of the stick, and it made a loud sound. And then suddenly it didn't work anymore.
Yeah. Broke the board.
Yeah, you didn't break the outer casing, but for
I broke the board inside because remember I took it apart. I was like, "Oh shit!"
that was like some blood sport stuff right there, man. You just like you broke what was in the middle, but not the outer part. That was amazing.
Yeah, and I returned it to Best Buy and just told them it stopped working. And since there was no physical damage, they were out of sticks, so they just gave me store credit. I bought something else.
I just wanted to see if you remember. That was one of the best stories I've ever had about you. I just wanted to see if you remembered it.
Oh yeah, dude, I remember that.
I'm glad you brought that back up, Ed, because you did discuss that on the last episode when we were talking about things we've done in video games that we're slightly ashamed of.
Yeah. So
yeah,
but that was the classic.
That was a neat stick. It worked. It was an ASCII stick, and it worked on Saturn and PlayStation. I was so excited to have a fighting stick that worked on both.
Yeah. Was.
That's good.
Thank you.
All right. So now we're going to slide into the now playing segment. Mikey, why don't you lead us through your recent adventures with Halo Infinite?
Yeah, I mean I've been playing a few games, but yes, Halo Infinite came out and I played all of the flights, which was their term for the betas for the multiplayer, and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't too impressed. For a game that was delayed a year, I was not impressed with the multiplayer. The graphics were well done, but the lack of variety in the maps, and as somebody who thoroughly enjoyed Halo 5, I was disappointed that they took away all my movement options. Halo 5 made the Spartans like super Spartans. Like they were badass. You could boost, you could dash, you could jump, you could power slam. Like you felt like a super powered space marine soldier.
Okay.
What they've done, and I understand why they did this for game balance reasons. They took it back to sort of Halo 3, where now you can get those power ups, but or you can get those moves, but they're now a power up. You can get one. You can either get a boost or you can get a shield. You can get a grappling hook, which I really like. I really like that perk. but you move, and they also cut the movement speed down a lot, which again I understood why they did it for balance. But it was just kind of one of those things where it's like they pulled the rug out from underneath me. I know the Halo community at large was kind of bitching about that, and they wanted it to play like quote unquote classic Halo.
Mhm.
But I always felt like if a game doesn't evolve, it's just gonna die.
Right.
So I don't know. It's okay, the multiplayer. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. If you invited me, if I was playing Halo Infinite and somebody else invited me to go play Halo 5, I would probably go play Halo 5.
Okay.
Um, the
Does the game
campaign,
continue to retain like a fairly large player base to this point? Like, do you know that?
I know the numbers on Steam have gone way down, but that's not really indicative of anything because people on Steam are really finicky and fanatical. So,
Right.
um, they have slowly put in a couple more maps into the multiplayer. My biggest complaint with the map design is they all have the same kind of look and the same kind of textures. Whereas
Hmm.
Halo 5, at least the 4v4, 5v5 maps were all really varied and well designed. These maps all kind of look a little generic and a little like all the same mirrored texture um, kind of look to them.
Hmm.
And the big team battle currently is kind of broken. Like you can get into a game, and then it seems like when you go to the next match, it kind of just puts you in an infinite searching loop, and then you can't play again, and you got to kind of kill the game and restart it. And that's just one of these things with quote unquote modern gaming that's frustrating, is when there's these kind of connection issues. And when you're a busy like person who's working and has kids, and you only have like maybe a couple hours in your whole day to grab some Halo, like when you spend 45 minutes looking for a match, that's really like just
Buzzkill.
it grinds my gears.
Yeah.
Um,
Like Gears of War?
oh, dude, that's a topic for a whole nother episode.
Oh.
I finished the campaign. Um, I really like the campaign. It's sort of, to me, it feels like they were trying to pull an episode 7 of Star Wars. Are kind of doing like this soft reboot thing where they're trying to bring it back to that classic Halo feel. We're back on a ring. I feel like their main idea was taking the mission from the original Halo Silent Cartographer and just making one giant game out of that, which is kind of
Okay.
what they've done. You land on this ring. The first couple missions are really linear till you get to the ring, and then once you get to the ring, you have options. It's semi-open world. You can capture these bases to get extra Marines and guns. You can look on the map to get Spartan cores, which allow you to upgrade the powers that you have, like boosting your shield strength, getting a better grappling hook, um, things like that. If you want to, you can just plow through the missions. I did some of the side missions, and then once I got to a point where I was like, all right, I'm kind of burned out on this, I just focused on the story missions. And once you hit a certain story mission, like probably the fourth to the last one, you can kind of just plow through the rest of the game, which is what I did. Um, Story was good. Graphics on the Series X, amazing. Like it looks phenomenal. If I
Mhm.
had any complaint, is that we're kind of stuck on this one ring with this one look. So there's no like snow, there's no like tropical area, there's no, everything is just this kind of foresty green hillside ring or shiny chrome corridors
Right.
of the ring. There's not a lot of variety there, but the core gameplay is really good. The music's solid. The graphics are amazing. The story is kind of confusing because it's like they jumped a big time gap between. Because Halo 4 came out, and that was the start of the Reclaimer trilogy. I liked that game a lot. Not a lot of people did. I thought it was great. 5 came out, and the multiplayer was good, but the story was a hot mess. And I think with
Mm.
this, they're trying to clean up that mess of 5. And so there's a big time skip. And I think there's supposed to be some books that fill in that. But I feel like why I don't like it when they make the gamers suffer the narrative because they want to fix stuff, and we've got to read a bunch of books to get it heads up. There should have at least been like maybe a little 5-minute like here's what happened synopsis, which they didn't include. Maybe they'll do that later.
Right.
Overall, though, the game is good. It's really good. If you have a Series X and you have Game Pass, you should definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So in the realm of Halo games, where does this rank? Like in the middle?
Not in my top 3.
Okay.
It's good. The campaign is better than 5. I'll say that. At least gameplay wise, story wise, or gameplay and story wise, I'd say visually 5 had more variety and more fun. 5, it was almost like with 5 they were trying to do almost like an action movie thing. They had too many characters, and it was fun, but I can see why they scaled it back down to basically just the chief in this game. And that was like a complaint in 5, because in 5 it had the dual story like Halo 2 did. So
Always risky.
right. Yeah, I mean, visually this is probably the best Halo's looked outside of the Halo 2 anniversary edition or Halo 5. The Series X really gets to flex its muscle with this game. It looks great. It controls good.
Do you think it needed more time in the oven, as I always like to say?
Yeah, here's the funny thing. That game was supposed to come out at the launch of the Series X, and they first showed it at that E3 2020, and it looked really weak. And I remember when I saw it, I was like, this is our launch title. This looks terrible. Like, I couldn't believe what it looked like. It looked really bland. And I wasn't the only one. Tons of people like pretty much bashed them right on their YouTube channel. So they baked it for another year, and it looks way better. And I think it suffered from a lot of rewrites and a lot of designer changes. I know the lead designer left, and they brought Joseph Staten back in, who helped work on Halo 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And also worked on Destiny 1. So
yeah,
they got him back. I think that helped a lot. I mean, it had an extra year to bake. I think that really helped the campaign. I have no idea why the multiplayer is as weak as it is after an extra year. Like I can't fathom why there's not 20 4v4, 5v5 maps. Even if they were remakes of classic Halo maps with different locations, like it's just I don't get it. I don't understand what their multiplayer team's doing.
Yeah, that would still be better than not having that content at all.
Yeah, there's like the first week the game came out, there was only like 4 or 5 maps total, and it was like, really?
Wow.
These maps were all in the flights. Hopefully they'll clean that up. It's not my go-to for PvP though, for sure. Like I'm not feeling it in that aspect at all, like I used to, and it actually kind of hurts for me to say that, because
God, it hurts.
God, it hurts.
When Halo 5 came out, I played that shit nonstop for a year straight,
Right.
easy, if not longer.
No, I mean, you're definitely like the Halo stalwart amongst all of my friends.
And
so
that is all your fault, sir. Flashback to December 2001 when you got the original Xbox with Halo.
Some jerk had an Xbox and a couple of Dukes.
Yeah, and you were like, well, you were the one that was like, I don't know, this is gonna be really good, and I was like, nah, man, no, I'm sticking with Sega. Like,
you know what, man? It's so funny. Now that I realize it, I played the demo for that
at E3, right?
No, I played that. I didn't see it at E3 that year. I don't think I actually went that time. Or no. I think in the summertime. Now, if you remember, if you've seen like recent videos about Halo, like the end crunch on making that game retail ready was
fucking
bananas.
Crazy. Yeah, it's on that Xbox.
It was not playable
crazy. Right.
at E3.
But it was garbage. It was really bad.
I just remember seeing the console itself, and I was like, that thing is enormous. No thanks. And of course, at the time, I was still very much like in Power Dreamcast fanboy mode. But there was an Xbox kiosk at Mitch's Software, etc. at the Elcon Mall. And I looked at it, and I just remember being impressed with it visually. And then when I started playing it, like, I hated the buttons on the Duke, but the level of feedback with those big, fat, gnarly triggers and the way that game felt just like lit up this center of my brain that had previously not really been lit up. Like,
Yeah, well,
I had tried
they
to
were
get
the
into
ones that
GoldenEye.
right. They were the ones that figured out how to map first-person controls onto a controller and actually
Yep.
make it feel good.
Mm-hmm. So, like, and honestly, like, I was shocked by that. I was just like, wow, like, this game is really good and I need to spend more time. Like, that was all I knew, you know? And
Yeah.
so when I got it home, and then the first time I played through the Silent Cartographer, and it was just the first time that, like, on a console game, you really felt like you were just in this crazy, wide open space. And, like, the aliens are flying in from really high above on the ghost units. I mean, it was just like, you know, it was a very vivid moment of discovery, you know. So yes, your love of Halo is absolutely my fault.
Yeah, because after I played it, I was like, oh my God, I need an Xbox. Plus, right after that is when Sega fell apart, and then they announced they were making Xbox games. And so I was like, all right, I'm getting one of these.
And we were so primed for it because, like, that game takes so many fucking design cues from Aliens. And we were the biggest Aliens whores around.
Well, we were the only two people in Tucson that had the Aliens Laserdisc Collector's Edition.
So when I heard the grunts chatter the way they do, and I saw the dropship and the Warthog, I mean...
And Sarge, and
it's just easy pickings, man. I mean, we were just... You know, we were waiting to stumble into that and just be like, oh my God.
Yeah, as you mentioned before, just right now, basically, before that, we had stuff like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, and they felt like a stutter fest. It didn't feel natural. Sometimes I had a hard idea. I didn't know what was going on because it was just choppy. But then you have
a lot of angry people with you, Ed.
I'm with Eddie. I never.
Yeah, I couldn't cotton to GoldenEye either. I really couldn't. I knew.
I like the idea of it because I love James Bond, but playing the game made me want to throw up. It was like horrible.
Yeah, right. I remember watching
both of those games.
Yeah.
You were saying?
Oh, I remember watching Jeff and Sebastian and other people playing GoldenEye competitively, and I just felt like, especially with the 4 players on one screen,
it was like
just
running at 10 frames a second.
Yeah, I was like, "What's the fun in this, man? I can't even control it." I just felt like it was something that it was a nice concept, but it was just in terms of performance, it wasn't there yet. But then when Halo come out,
it was just too much game for that piece of hardware.
Yeah, I was already ruined by the PC by that point for those kind of games that, like GoldenEye, I was like, I can't play this.
Yeah, I remember seeing Half-Life running on your rig at your house. And I was just like, damn, now that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess, you know, we all share that, you know, GoldenEye, despite it being this 4-player phenomenon for a lot of people, like, just, it wasn't until Halo came along that I really got bitten by the FPS bug.
Yeah.
And speaking of the FPS bug,
yeah,
Eddie, I hear that you've been having a little voyage of discovery of your own.
Yeah, I actually got Quake recently. And
yes.
I never got to play Quake back in the day because my computer sucked.
Oh God,
so I remember Optimus. He was a big FPS guy, and he was the guy that always played Quake and Doom and back in the day, and always told me, "Hey, you got to play this someday, man." And I was like, "My computer."
You're like, yeah,
barely runs solitaire. So I finally experienced it for the first time just a couple of weeks ago, and I've had a lot of fun. Like I used to play a lot of Wolfenstein 3D, and that brought
Mhm.
back
I've even
memories. Like Quake feels like a very, you know, very polished version of Wolfenstein back in the day. And finding all these secrets and the playability, man, it controls really well on Switch. Especially with the you can aim with your Pro controller, kind of like how you do with Splatoon 2. So they really fine-tuned it so that you have a lot better aim for a guy that, I mean, you can't use a mouse and keyboard, obviously, but it in terms of gameplay, yeah, it's pretty solid. And I just like how you can run around a level, explore, have fun, and kill things, and just it's very cathartic. And I can see why now that this game was so popular back in the day. Yeah, I love this version. I'm glad I got it, and I also got Doom 64 just recently.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
played through both of those ports. I have those both on the Xbox. I
yeah,
just love that classic sort of semi, like, puzzle-solving map
Mhm.
design of those
that's
early
what I like
FPS
about it
games.
too. Yeah, and I got to
There's
get
such
back
a
to playing.
weird, yeah, there's such a weird purity to those games. Like, it's just about moving and shooting and figuring out your way to the next thing. And it doesn't have all this, like, kind of pseudo cinematic baggage or all these
Nope.
scripted things that happen. Like, it's just about moving and killing stuff and finding cool things. And
And the evolution of the puzzles from, like, Doom was basically a 2D hack that looked 3D, but you couldn't look up or down. And then in Quake, looking up and down, like, the puzzles are, like, underwater, they're up in ceilings, like, they're
Mhm.
firing the grenade launcher and bouncing it off a wall to hit a switch, like, crazy stuff like that. It you get kind of addicted to finding the puzzles or how to get all the hidden stuff. I know sometimes I finish a level and I'm like, "God, I didn't get 100. Damn it."
Mhm.
Go
That's how I feel like right now. That's why I'm taking it nice and slow. But I know there's so many episodes that it's gonna take me probably years to if I wanted
Oh, to
to
get
do it.
all of them? Yeah,
Yeah, with all
probably.
the
If you're gonna try
secrets,
and find all the Easter eggs.
but
Yeah.
but I
Yeah,
don't
I
mind.
just discovered the crazy vertical level
Yeah,
um, in
whole new
Quake
dimension,
1.
literally.
Mhm.
But
No.
yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I will play Doom 64 soon. I just got it yesterday, so I haven't had time to play it yet. But yeah,
Out of the
I'm
2, I love Quake, but man, Doom 64 is
really?
so good.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that I would say, in my opinion, Doom 64 is the better game. It's definitely scarier. Holy
Oh
crap.
wow. I remember playing Doom 3 on my old laptop back in the day. I
Yeah.
never got to finish it, but that was kind of freaky. Do you recommend
That was
playing
a
that?
slower Doom 3 was definitely more of a slower horror burn, like, closer to something like Resident Evil. Doom
Mhm.
Yeah,
64 is more of the classic, like,
It's
everything's
running.
still
trying
about
to kill
opening
you.
up a door and then just getting chased by a
Yeah,
bazillion things
yeah.
and
Yeah.
scurrying the fuck out of there and trying to kill them all.
To be honest, I prefer that. Yeah,
Yeah.
just straightforward. But
I after playing, like, after recently going back and playing through because they re-released all the Doom games on the Xbox, trying to play Doom 3 again was hard. It's so
Yeah.
slow and different now, and but I can play Doom 1 and Doom 2 and Doom 64 and Doom 2016. I do not care for Doom Eternal.
really, why not?
Not digging that game. They took the formula of Doom and decided, let's add some crazy, ridiculous vaulting jump puzzles all over the game, and it just gets old real quick. And I was like, this is fucking annoying. Like, it's less about, oh, and also the way you get ammo in that game. I know that John Lennerman from Digital Foundry was way into it, but I couldn't do it. It just broke the Doom formula for me in a way that I can't enjoy the game.
Yeah, it's sounds a lot like most other games that I mean, being a fan of certain types of games like fighting game or something where they add like a little thing that
They add some crazy new
it's
system that just sort of breaks what made the original good.
Yeah, and sometimes it
Yeah.
can accentuate the game, or sometimes it can break the game and make it feel like, oh, it's too overpowered, or oh, it's a gimmick and
Right.
nobody likes it. And then, oh, well, I guess we gotta kind of improve it on the next iteration or get rid of it altogether. But yeah, that's I guess what it sounds like. Hopefully, people at id will take notice and maybe change that for the next Doom game if they ever make one. But yeah,
I'm
um,
hoping they're working on a new Quake game. With
yeah,
this Quake coming out, with the anniversary of Quake, I have a feeling their next title will be a new Quake game.
that would be sweet. But
It would be.
yeah, but I've been playing that and playing a little bit of. I mentioned last time Hot Shot Racing. I recommend that still.
Oh yeah, I have that. I have it
Yeah,
on the Xbox.
yeah, it's fun. I like it. Definitely, if you like Daytona or Virtua Racing, yeah, definitely play it.
Yeah.
And also, I have to admit, Centipede Recharged. I gave it a second try, and I've been loving it a lot more now. Even though I still have its, it still has its drawbacks. There are some things I wish that they kept from the original onto this version to make it uh how should I say, more fair, because sometimes when I play the game I feel like, oh, I died because it's out of my control. It's like you're heavily dependent on power-ups to get far in the game. If you don't get the power-ups from the spiders, then you're not going to get too far. It's going to be pretty difficult to advance. But I also got the other two recharged games, Black Widow Recharged and Asteroids Recharged. Black Widow Recharged gets really hard really quick. So if you don't mind that, it's a fun game.
I remember it wasn't
But
any good at the original either.
the original was a unique game because
Yeah.
it it had a unique theme. There was a lot of obstacles like and enemies that you had to avoid, and it was one of a kind. I highly recommend playing either the original arcade or recharged because it's
Hmm.
just something that you won't experience in many other games, especially twin stick games. But Asteroids Recharge, I highly recommend. That game
Nice.
is very polished. It's their latest one that came out 2 weeks ago, and I feel like if I die in that game, it's my fault, 100% my fault, and that's how a game should be. It's
Yes.
it's gotta be fair, it's gotta be you don't need the power-ups to do well in that game, but it can help. But
Yeah.
if you don't have the power-ups, you'll be fine as long as
Okay.
you know, okay, the UFOs that come, some shoot at you, some don't. So you
Yeah.
gotta work on your placement. And you gotta have the strategy to know when to thrust and when to stay put and shoot. And it's fun. I I
Nice.
think it's on Switch,
It's
Xbox,
on pretty much
PlayStation.
all the systems.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
and it's
so.
I think it's on sale for $6 now
Nice.
on Switch at least for US. So, but yeah,
No,
definitely
I
give it
would
a
be
try.
motivated to try that because I definitely love the original Asteroids. That was one of the first
Yeah.
shoot 'em up games where I was
Uh,
just like, oh, like this feels really good.
yeah, it definitely feels like I mean, it's kinda like, I don't know if Asteroids Deluxe, it doesn't really change the back in the day, they had Asteroids Deluxe, and it didn't change much of the original formula, but it made it more fun. Like, it gave you a
Hmm.
few more options, but, yeah, this game is like basically Asteroids, but with power-ups and feels better when you move around, and yeah, give it a try. I think you'll like it. But, yeah, that's
Nice.
what I've been playing. How about you? Uh, Six
Um,
Button Samurai.
well, I've been continuing on my sort of unfinished business tour. Um, I've been in the middle of playing through Super Mario RPG,
Mhm.
and that was a game that back when it came out, like I'd played a lot of Square's other JRPGs, and I don't know. Like, to me, it seemed like a chocolate and peanut butter combo that I wasn't especially thrilled about. Because I loved Mario games, I love JRPGs. That one seemed a bit odd to me, and it just didn't grab me whatsoever. But going back to it now, it really is like a nicely crafted sort of distillation of what makes both things really interesting and charming. Like, it clearly understands like the sort of charm of like the Mario universe and the way those characters are. Um, and it's got a great soundtrack. That's the same composer that did all of the music for Street Fighter 2.
Really?
Um,
Wow.
did the soundtrack for Super Mario RPG.
Wow.
So it's really charming, but it's actually quite different, obviously, than anything in SF2. But I've been enjoying that game a lot. But I've also continued to spend some more time, a little bit more time with Quake. I've also started up playing Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I've got
Ooh.
a new gaming monitor that I'm trying to put through its paces, and that game really makes a pretty wonderful argument for games running at 120 frames per second.
Wow.
Yeah,
I've been meaning to get that on Switch, both games. Uh,
yeah,
I guess they're on sale right now, so maybe I'll pick it up later, but yeah, I heard nothing but great things about Ori.
yep.
Yeah.
No, it's good stuff. So now we're going to slide into the big question. And since there are three of us today, we have a triple decker question. Optimus, I want you to start us out. What made you happy from the world of gaming in 2021? How do you think the console wars are shaping up in 2022? And if you could have any game materialized from your inner fantasy life in
Oh, jeez.
2022, what would it be?
Oh, my Lanta.
So, what
All
made you
right.
happy
All
in
right.
2021?
You know what I probably played the most and had so much fun with, and it came out at the end of 2020, just as the Series X dropped. We got and our mutual buddy in California is one of the lead designers on this game, and that was Black Ops Cold War. And God, I played the fucking shit out of that game because the story was great for the campaign. It brought us back to the Cold War era of the Black Ops games instead of the future tech stuff that they had tried. So I love that. The multiplayer, lots of fun. The Treyarch team makes my favorite multiplayer in that series. And then my favorite mode is the zombies mode, which our buddy
Mm-hmm.
Mark is the designer, one of the designers on. And god damn it, it was like crack. I couldn't put that game down. I played it a lot. A lot. I don't
Awesome.
even want to share how many hours I dumped into that game. Um, had so much fun doing the Easter egg quests on those zombies maps can be really intense and really fun. And when you finally like beat it, you're like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That was a ton of fun from the world of gaming. That's pretty much probably my most played game of 2021. I mean, there was some other stuff, but that's what I would go to on a nightly basis was.
You still play it now?
I haven't touched it much lately because I've been playing the new one. I've been playing Vanguard.
Mm.
But it's funny you say that because today I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go back and play some Cold War for a minute. But then I got distracted by something else. Console wars. I mean, really, I don't. I mean, do we really have a console war anymore? Nintendo does what Nintendo does, and everybody that loves Nintendo's happy with that, and they print money, so they're
Mm-hmm.
good. I think you don't even. I don't think Nintendo's even worried about any of that. They've got their niche, and they're good. The battle seems to be between Sony and Microsoft for the living room. Right now, the machines are pretty neck and neck as far as like spec wise goes.
Mm-hmm.
They're almost identical. Um, I think that Microsoft's Game Pass solution has really, really done well, and I think it's gotten a lot of gamers to check out Xbox for something different. And I think Phil Spencer over there at Xbox trying to like mend bridges and get Japanese publishers on board is a good thing. I think Sony's just got such a strong fan base, and they've got a lot of strong titles, a lot of strong first party stuff that they don't really have anything to worry. I think it's going to be like a neck and neck kind of a war. I don't see a clear cut winner this gen between those two.
It's funny that you mention it, but in Japan, Apex Legends has become the #1 game right now,
Man,
over
I wish I
Fortnite
could.
even.
I wish I could get it. I tried. I love Respawn, the guys that made Titanfall. I tried to get into Apex, and I love battle royales. I cannot get into that game.
But it's crazy. So many people are playing that right now. It's always
I don't
trending
like
on Twitter here.
Yeah, I don't like class-based arena kind of
Yeah.
shooter type games that have a class-based system, and I really don't like the weapons in that game. They don't feel right to
You
me.
say Team Fortress never really did it for you, did it?
I used to play a lot of Team Fortress.
Yeah?
Yeah, I used to play a lot with the Bookman's crew with Ed and Zane and those guys.
Mhm.
But then Counter-Strike came out.
Nice.
Yeah.
As far as
Any game.
Any game, anything. You ready?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Capcom SNK 3. I said it.
Oh.
Well, you know we're both going to go along with that.
That would be my dream. Oh my god, Capcom SNK 3, like running on that new KOF engine that SNK is doing. Maybe that'll be the bridge. Maybe that's the game that gets that going. Because
that's the thing. I mean, KOF. When I look at KOF 15, just visually, to me, it screams the palette of those later Neo Geo games. I mean, it feels much more like Real Bout 2 or Garou just by virtue of the palette, especially Real Bout 2
recently. Yeah, so good.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so good.
I think CVS3 is still a possibility because I read an article on CVS2 on Polygon.com, and there were some of the old developers that talked about that game. They were saying, yeah, before I leave Capcom or before I leave SNK, I'd like to get CVS3 out the door. So who knows? I mean, with with SNK versus Capcom Match of the Millennium, people thought that wasn't going to come out, but now it's out. The old Neo Geo Pocket game, the fighting game, it came out on Switch, and I believe it's on Steam as well. I don't know about PS4, but yeah.
I bought it to support it.
I did too. I double dipped because I still have my original cart and my...
I would buy it if they released it on Xbox, but so far it's not on there.
Yeah, but
hopefully
the demand is there. I hope they bring it out. It's not too late.
All right, Eddie.
Yeah?
Take tee off on this triple decker.
All right.
What made you happy from the world of gaming in 2021?
It would be Pac-Man 99. That came out of the blue. Yeah, it's on Switch. If you're familiar with Tetris 99, they made Pac-Man a battle royale game. And when that came out and I tried it, oh my god, it's so much fun. It's the basic Pac-Man formula, but they changed a few things to make it fun for a 99 player battle royale, and it's actually pretty solid. Like from the very beginning, it felt very, very, very fair. Like it's funny how they had it where you press the D-pad and I believe the face buttons to change like your style and also your power-ups. So you can either focus on speed.
Well, it's almost like you've got a loadout, right?
Yeah.
That it basically gives your pack certain characteristics.
Yeah. Or it can increase your ghost chain. Like it made it was so well designed. I just played it for months, and I haven't played it in recent times because I got to fix my Pro Controller. That game demands finesse. I mean, it demands pinpoint accuracy, because I think with pro controllers from Nintendo, I think it's well documented that the D-pad is a little bit iffy because the contacts on from the pad, they don't register. So you'll often, like, if you hit left, right, it'll sometimes register up. And
Right.
when you're playing Pac-Man, especially when you have to have good timing, that'll screw you up, especially as you go faster during the game. So that's why right now I'm not playing it, but I plan to get back into it again before the Pac-Man Championship Edition. That's part of the Pac-Man Museum Plus collection that comes out later, early this year. Will come out,
Nice.
and I'll be playing that too. Yay! So
And
I love that
what's your
game.
take on the console wars, Eddie?
Well, as you know, I'm right now focusing on Nintendo Switch, and I feel like 2021, with the exception of Metroid Dread, which I still need to play, um, they didn't have as many big titles as they had in years past. Like 2 years ago, it was Animal Crossing, and wow, that
Mhm.
sold like hotcakes. And obviously, the sales continued throughout this past year. But we need to have some AAA titles come out this year. Hopefully, Breath of the Wild 2. Splatoon 3 is scheduled to come out, which I love Splatoon.
Right.
Gotta get it if you're a Switch fan. It's one of the best
Yeah.
single player and multiplayer FPS games on the system. Highly recommend that.
Nice.
And Bayonetta 3, if it comes out, yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
it'll be a bumper crop of a year if they do that. Those 3 games. But that's my opinion. Nintendo's got to do this because the supply chain problems, they're going to affect Switch sales, with the systems being harder to get, although there's already an established user base that's pretty, in large numbers. With that high user base, you got to get them still in your camp. Otherwise, if you don't have any good titles that are coming out this year, they're going to go elsewhere, sadly enough. Even mobile phones, or you don't want that. Definitely. You want to keep
Right.
your audience. So hopefully they'll bring out those titles. And the
Yeah.
third one, if I could speak it into existence, I have to cheat a little. Darkstalkers.
Oh
God,
yeah, dude.
talk about a drought. I mean, if you think VF is bad,
The
Virtua
last
Fighter is
thing
bad.
released was that Darkstalkers anniversary on 360 and PS3, like
Right.
digital.
Yeah.
Darkstalkers Resurrection.
Yeah, that was the last thing ever released, and it's been a fucking ghost town. And
I
there were
know.
those leaked character models that looked like they were running on the SF4 engine, but nothing ever became of that.
Oh yeah, where'd you see that?
That was way back in the day.
Really?
That was like 10 years ago, Eddie.
Wow. But even if it ran on the SF4 engine, the Street Fighter 4 engine fit
And
perfectly.
that's the latest Street Fighter I can play.
Yeah, but I mean, Street Fighter 4 was very cartoony, and it
Yeah,
was
I liked it.
it was a brilliant game because when I started playing it back when it debuted in Japanese arcades, a lot of us were amazed with the facial expressions when you do like the ultra
Yeah, they were
moves.
fun.
Yeah, they looked so much like straight out of a cartoon. That would have been perfect for Darkstalkers, but we'll see. I mean, unfortunately, back in the day, like you mentioned, they had that collection for Xbox 360 and PS3, and they made that
Mhm.
ultimatum, the Capcom ultimatum, saying like, "Well, if you buy our collection for the umpteenth time, maybe we'll bring you another Darkstalkers game," and they never did because people were finally said, "Well, dude, I already got it on Dreamcast and PS2. What more do you want from me? You're giving me the same game but on a different system."
What, dude?
What? What, dude? What?
Oh. So it's no secret that the thing I wouldn't shut up about in 2021 was the Mister. I spent a lot of time catching up on unfinished business.
Yeah.
Probably the single best moment of that was finally finishing Phantasy Star 4.
Yeah.
Which, oh my.
I still need to play that game.
Man.
Oh, man.
I still need to finish Phantasy Star 1 on Switch.
All right, Eddie, just get out of here now.
No. I'm glad I'm playing it on Switch because...
Yeah.
Yeah, that version's way better.
Yeah.
Way better.
Yeah, I never got the opportunity, and now I'm playing it in a much more refined way where I don't have to draw maps.
The first time when I played it back in the day when I was a kid,
Yeah.
on the Master System converter on my Genesis, I had that glitch. I think James, you brought it up on one of your episodes. If you like go to a certain dungeon and you don't have the right stuff, you get stuck in there. I had to restart the whole game.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what I heard. So
brutal.
I don't know where that exact part is, but I'm trying to keep my save files kind of spaced out so that doesn't happen, hopefully. But yeah, I got to get back into it because the bad thing about RPGs is if you don't play it for a couple months, oh my god.
Yeah,
Especially with a game like Phantasy Star.
Unless you're playing Phantasy Star 4.
Really?
Because Phantasy Star 4, you can have the characters talk and they tell you,
which is
player, what you were
still like one of the greatest innovations that ever happened in JRPGs.
Yeah.
Like, have
Dragon
the
Quest VIII
characters
did that.
talk. You can remember what the hell they're doing. Yeah, I know, but this is back in 1994.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's probably where Dragon Quest got it. That's pretty cool. That they should do that more.
Yep.
They're like, hey, dummy, did you
the best
forget
thing.
we got to
like,
do this
hey,
quest?
They have a conversation and they tell you what the hell needs to happen next. Like,
yeah.
Brilliant.
But
so yeah, I loved Phantasy Star 4. Like, it was everything I hoped it would be, even after years of hearing that it was probably the best game in the series. Just the way it brought everything around, drawing so much from primarily the first two games in the series. It's if you're a Sega fan at all and you had any interest in those games, you have to beat that one. You just have to. It's fantastic. So yeah, that was the thing that made me the happiest in 2021. As far as the console wars go, I'm enjoying the time that I'm spending with my Xbox Series X more than I did at the beginning of the year. I absolutely cannot front on the value of Xbox Game Pass. I mean, there's so many other games that I'm just at least trying now that I might not have ever tried before. So that has tremendous value. As far as the race shapes up, quote unquote, like, I still feel like both of these consoles just dropped a year too soon. But that said, like, it really is, as you said, Optimus, like, the specs are so stupidly close with both systems, between Series X and PS5 that, it's really going to come down to whoever can create the most interesting exclusives for both.
Yeah, it's the games and I think the community. I think Xbox is definitely stronger as far as building a community.
Mm-hmm.
I think PlayStation has a really good stable of developers for single player games that people love. They've got the exclusive on the Spider-Man stuff. They've got Uncharted. I'm not gonna lie, I would love to play those Horizon games. Those games look fucking right up my alley, but I don't have a PlayStation. Maybe later, at some point, I'll get one. But
right.
And it's not even well, right now they're really hard to get. Like, I have money, I could go get one, but they're hard to get. It's just that I can't like justify buying one when I barely have enough time to play the few Xbox games that I'm trying to plow through right now. It's one of those things where if I was younger and not as busy, I could totally do it. So I think it's awesome. I think and then, like we were saying before, I think competition is good for the industry. So I'm glad that they're both duking it out there.
Yep. It always makes these things better. And that was like the biggest takeaway of the whole 16-bit generation thing, that, when they're at each other's throats and it's really close, you're going to get the absolute best that rolls out.
And
hopefully we see that on the fighting game end of things.
Yeah. And I think with all the console makers, they know what the common enemy is, and that's mobile gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's in many people's hands. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's mainly just about competing for people's free time, period.
Exactly. So you want a grand experience, or do you want a quick and easy experience with the mobile games? So that's why.
And as far as my game pulled from the depths of fantasy, I would still love to see a remake of Phantasy Stars 1 through 4, but brought into line with a modern aesthetic and then slightly rewritten so that each segment sort of flows into the next.
Dude.
It would be nice. And definitely, if they had another...
I just want Phantasy Star to come back in its original form.
Yeah.
Just give me that.
Not the PSO Online?
I mean, I understand, like, those games have a user base and those people love them. Like, I've tried to claw back into it, and I just don't have the time to invest in a game like that anymore.
I tried to play the new one, and it
feels too weirdly like a PC game shoehorned into the Xbox.
It's also just got since it's free to play, it's got way too many MTX options up the wazoo, and I just kind of walked away. I was like, this is a money pit. I'm walking away.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And
it doesn't have that same, like the original Phantasy Star Online 1 and 2, the one that was on the Dreamcast and the GameCube and Xbox, that just had a feel to it that when they made Phantasy Star Universe didn't work for me. When they made Phantasy Star Universe 2, and then there was another one, and then now we've got this Phantasy Star Online 2, and I'm just not feeling it. Yeah, I don't know. It just something doesn't feel. I like the gameplay itself on the new one's nice. Like the combat and everything feels good, and the way it shoots feels real good. The graphics, like I said, they look really nice. You can, on the Series X, you can crank up the settings all the way to the max, and it looks pretty neat.
Yeah.
But the slog and the grind and the MTX of that game, I was just like, no, man, I'm out.
Yeah. I don't know. There was something that was lightning in a bottle about that first iteration of Phantasy Star Online that they just
it wasn't as complicated. I think that's part of it. It wasn't as, this game is like cluttered everywhere, and the original PSO was pretty simple to distill. The core gameplay was really addicting,
and it brought console guys like myself online to play finally. And I remember those days when I played with you and your brother, and played on dial-up.
I mean, it's still astounding to me that game was as fluid and playable as it was over a friggin' 56K modem.
Yep. As long as you could tie up the phone for a couple hours without your sister picking up the phone and hanging up your connection, like my sister always did. Yeah.
Yep.
Good times though.
Sabotage.
But I'm glad you brought that up because Phantasy Star, they definitely need like a new traditional Phantasy Star game, not the online game and not a mobile game, which not many people know, but they actually made a mobile game recently that did fairly poorly, and the servers are going to shut down very soon, if not, they're already shut down. But
I don't know. I mean, maybe Phantasy Star is right for the soft reboot thing. Then, if you were going to do a single player traditional JRPG out of it, I don't know.
But I hope they do, because I would love to see a new entry that, I mean, we could always use a good JRPG that's traditional. I mean, Final Fantasy is way different than it was before. Dragon Quest,
right?
At least it kept its roots, and even with it being in 3D and everything, it still feels like Dragon Quest, and it's not gotten off the beaten path in terms of looks and the way it plays.
Right.
But yeah, I would love to see Phantasy Star kind of jump back in it like Virtua
All
Fighter.
right. So yeah, we've willed CVS 3, Darkstalkers, and Phantasy Star 5 into existence.
Yes.
Sega, Capcom, SNK, get on it. Thanks.
Yes. Thanks.
Holy crap! This was a fantastic trip down both memory lane and what's happening now. Optimus, it was fantastic to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for coming,
Dude, I
bro.
love it. Anytime I'm in. Anytime you guys are like, hey, you want to come on the show? I'm in.
Awesome. We'll definitely make that happen again. For myself and Game Agent ET, we want to thank you guys so much for spending time with us on episode 7 of Oh God, It Hurts.
Oh, God, it hurts.
Oh, God, it hurts. And a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year,
Happy
everybody.
New Year.
And don't forget to check out our man Optimus on his own show, Retro Futurist Culture, right here on Ruminations Radio Network, along with the galaxy of other terrific podcasts. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.